Okay, let's say you've been given a hot tip from a buddy and they're telling you to buy shares in company X. It's going to be the next Microsoft or Apple. It's basically going to blast off and you want to get in while the getting's good. Or maybe you're thinking you want to make a few extra dollars and the stock market may be a good place to do it. Whatever your motivations, it might behoove you to do a bit of research on the stock you're buying. After all, you're going to be putting down your hard-earned dollars, and you don't want to get this wrong. So in this series of videos, I'm going to show you 5 things you can look at before deciding whether to invest in a particular stock. And the best part is these things are completely free. The data is not hidden behind some paywall, and you don't need any kind of special software or equipment. And if you know what you're doing, the whole thing can be set up in less than an hour. I guarantee you, if you take the time out to do a bit of homework, then you'd be ahead of like 90% of the retail investors out there. I feel that a lot of time people buy stocks without really any kind of consideration for the fundamentals, either because they don't know how to do it or they can't be bothered, which is insane if you're going to be investing thousands of dollars into this thing. A common thing I see is that people sometimes buy shares because they're familiar with the product that a company makes, and they think that just because they recognize this product and it's kind of everywhere, that it's automatically a good stock to buy. But when you do some proper analysis, you could realize the stock is overvalued. A good example is Coca-Cola. Now, I'm not saying the company's crap. Fundamentally, it's good. I mean, they've got a product that is recognizable in virtually every part of the world. But it is possible for a company or a product to be good, but the stock to be crap. Now, before we proceed, a few caveats. The first is that you're going to need access to Microsoft Excel 365 or later. So if you have an earlier version, say Excel 2010 or something, then unfortunately this is not going to work. But the good news is that if you work in sort of like a medium to large organization, and then there's a good chance that you might already have access via work. Or if you had purchased a laptop or desktop in the last few years and got Microsoft Office bundled along with that, then you probably have Excel 365. It came out around 2011, so it's been around for a while. Even without Excel 365, you can still do a lot of the analysis I'm about to show you. It just makes it a little bit more troublesome because you have to go to some website and download the data. The other caveat is that please don't think that these 4 or 5 things I'm about to show you is the be-all and end-all of stock analysis. Doing proper analysis is a rabbit hole within a mystery wrapped in a rabbit hole. You can easily go down endless paths, and these could take weeks or even months of research, and there are professionals whose entire job is to do this kind of analysis. But as I said before, if you can do a bit of the basic stuff, that still puts you well ahead of most retail investors. Furthermore, many professional traders have a short-term focus and aggressive performance targets. If you're just kind of investing for the medium to long term, and your objective is to grow your wealth modestly over time, then this kind of analysis will do just fine. And the last caveat is that I'm going to assume that you know a little bit of Excel. You don't have to be an Excel guru or anything, but just know the basics of kind of like moving around the workbook, moving around a workbook, entering formulas, that kind of thing. Okay, enough preamble. Let's dive into it. The 5 things we're going to look at are historical price trends, line charts and moving averages, measures of risk and return, including this thing called the Sharpe ratio, the price to earnings ratio, and the intrinsic value. Let's start with the first one, historical price trends. We're going to start with a fresh sheet. The formula we're going to use is the stock history function. If we look up the Microsoft support page, we can see that the stock history function actually has quite a few parts to it. Let's break it down. The first thing we're going to need is a stock ticker symbol. This is the 3 or 4-letter code that identifies the company on the stock exchange. For example, Microsoft's stock ticker symbol is MSFT. The next thing we're going to need is a start date and an end date. And unless you have a specific date range you want to look at, I suggest using today's date as the end And we can specify some number of periods earlier, say a year, as the start date. The next thing we're going to need is the interval. And this will instruct Excel to get either daily, weekly, or monthly data. Next, we have an option to switch on headers, which, unless you have a reason to turn them off, usually I just leave them on. Then the next set of arguments will determine whether you want the date, closing prices, opening prices, high, low, and volume of stocks that were traded in that period. Let's jump back into Excel. And don't worry, if you set this up the way I show you, you only have to set the formula up once. Let's click into cell B7, and we're going to type equals to start the formula, followed by stock history, and open brackets. For the stock, let's just go with Microsoft for now. So the ticker symbol is MSFT. Close the quotation marks. Now you do need these quotation marks, because if you don't, then the formula is not going to work. So make sure you've got those open and close quotation marks. Then we're going to hit comma, and for the start date, let's just go with yesterday. So we'll type in today, open and close brackets, -1. So that's yesterday, comma, and for the end date, we're going to go today. So this will tell Excel to start from the close of yesterday until today. Then we're going to hit comma. And for the interval, let's just go with daily. So we're going to enter 0, and we're going to hit comma again. For headers, let's enter 2 to show the instrument identifier and header, comma. Next, we definitely want the date. So type 0, comma, followed by 1, because we want to get the closing prices. And let's close the bracket and press enter. Great, so now we have the closing price of Microsoft, but this is only for one day, and that's not very useful. Let's go back into the formula by pressing F2. F2. Select the second argument, which is over here, and let's enter today -7. This will give us the closing prices for the last week, and press enter. Now, notice how it doesn't give you 7 days worth of data. That's because there's no trading on weekends. So asking for the last 7 days of data will return the number of trading days in the last 7 days, which is typically 5, unless there's a public holiday. Now, since we've used the today function in the starting and ending date, this means that each time you open up the spreadsheet, it will update this table with current data. For example, if you were to wait 24 hours and reopen the spreadsheet, assuming that it's a trading day and not the weekend, Excel will update this table with the most recent stock data for the day. Now, I want to go back to all those optional properties like the opening price, high, low, volume, etc. So let's go back into the formula by hitting F2. Let's go all the way to the end of the formula, and now we're going to enter comma 2 to get the opening price, comma 3 to get the high for that day, comma 4 to get the low, and comma 5 to get the volume of stock that was traded on that day. And let's press enter. Now, we could just end it here and it'll be fine, but I want to make the formula a little more user-friendly. I want it to speak English and not this weird syntax. Let's create a new sheet, and I'm going to call this My List. And in this sheet, I'm going to list a few companies. Let's go with Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, and Nvidia. Yeah, I know they're all tech stocks, but these are the ones that sort of came to mind. Plus, they're kind of in the news a lot, so why not? But you can populate this list with any stocks that you want. You could have stuff like Coca-Cola, Walmart, McDonald's, Disney, etc., you name it. Next, I'm going to select the entire range, plus a few extra rows at the end, and I'll explain why in a second. Then we're going to click on this little box in the top left corner called the name box, and I'm going to type my list and enter. So what we've just done is we've given this range B3 to B13 what we call a range name, and that range name is called my list. So anytime in Excel, when you refer to the word my list or the name my list, Excel knows that it's referring to this particular range, B3 to B13. Now, let's select our list of companies, and I'm going to copy and just paste them in the next column. Then we're going to select the list that we just copied, and we're going to go to Data and click Stocks. This will convert the list into the stock data type. And notice how when we did that, Excel changed this list of companies to include their ticker symbols at the end. Okay, let's head back to our original stock sheet. In cell B3, let's type company. And right below it, let's click on Data, then Data Validation, and Data Validation. And we're going to select List under this validation criteria. And here where it says Source, we're going to type equals my list, and we click OK. Now we have this little drop-down menu that allows us to select any of the companies from our list, like Microsoft, Apple, Tesla, and Nvidia. Next, we're going to select the cell below it, which is B5, and now we're going to use a VLOOKUP function to get the corresponding ticker symbol for that specific company. If you don't know how to use a VLOOKUP, it's what we call a lookup function. This function will take a particular value, in this case the company name, and look up its ticker symbol from a table which we point to within Excel. If you're not sure how to use this, don't worry, just enter the formula exactly as I do it here. So start by typing equals lookup, open the bracket, then select cell B4, type in a comma, and we're going to navigate to the My List sheet. Then we're going to select this entire table plus those extra rows, let's say B3 to C13. Then we're going to type in comma followed by the number 2 because we want Excel to return the ticker symbol in column 2, followed by a comma, and then the word false since we want an exact match. Close the bracket and press enter. Got a little error here, but what we're going to do in a second, let's click on this drop-down menu, and I'm going to select Microsoft. And notice now that Excel has returned the ticker symbol for Microsoft. Let's try selecting another company, say Apple. And once again, Excel has returned the ticker symbol for Apple. Okay, let's go back to Microsoft. Now, let's go back to the original stock history function, which is currently in cell B7. Hit F2 and navigate to the bit where we have MSFT. I'm going to highlight this entire entry over here, and now point your cursor to cell B5. Left click and enter. Now, take your time to play with this. Let's click on this drop-down menu and let's select Apple. Notice how Excel has updated the table with Apple's stock price instead of Microsoft. Now we have a very simple way to look up any company we want without having to type in the ticker symbol in the stock history function. So So have a play with this. Let's try Tesla, and let's try Nvidia, and let's go back to Apple. Suppose we want to add another company. Let's add Coca-Cola. Go back to the My List sheet and type Coca-Cola in cell B7. Then copy and paste Coca-Cola in C7. And if Excel doesn't automatically change it to the stock data type, then just go ahead, click on Data, and click on Stocks. Now, at this point, Excel has presented us with a few different options, right? So here we see this little question mark, and Excel is kind of saying, well, which Coca-Cola do you want? Do you want the Coca-Cola that's traded on the New York Stock Exchange, or do you want the one that's on the Mexican Stock Exchange, etc.? So here, let's just select the one that's on the New York Stock Exchange. So we click on this one, we'll select this option over here, and left click on Select. And you can see it's updated the ticker symbol over here with Coca-Cola's ticker symbol. Now go back to the stock price sheet and click on the drop-down menu. Notice how Coca-Cola has appeared in our list. So this is why we added a few extra rows when giving it a range name to allow the addition of extra stocks. Go ahead and select Coca-Cola, and now the table updates itself with Coca-Cola stock prices. By the way, this also works for stocks that are traded outside the US. Like, it doesn't have to be just US companies. For example, I'm in Australia, and one of the biggest companies on the Australian Stock Exchange is BHP. They are a mining company, and their ticker symbol is BHP. Now, just to test it out, let's go back to the My List sheet. Click on cell B8. Let's type BHP and press enter. And I'm going to copy this from B8 and paste it to cell C8. And once again, if Excel doesn't really pick this up as a stock data type, then we just go to highlight cell C8, go to data, and click on the stocks data type to convert it into a stock data type. Now, if you want to double check that you've got the right company, click on the stock ticker and notice how we have this little extra button that appears in the top right-hand corner of the cell. Click on that button and select Show Data Type Card. And we get this little pop-up that shows us important information about the company. If we scroll down, we can see the description that tells us a little bit about the company itself. And in this case, everything seems to be all right. It's a resources company and a producer of iron ore, blah, blah, blah. If we scroll back up, notice there's this one little issue on the data card, and it tells us that the company is being traded on the list, it's being listed on the New York Stock Exchange. Now, BHP used to be dual listed, and it no longer is. Suppose we want the listing from the Australian Stock Exchange. To correct this, go back to the ticker cell C8, hit F2, and type XASX colon BHP and press enter. The X stands for exchange and ASX stands for the Australian Stock Exchange. So this is telling Excel to extract the data from the Australian Stock Exchange, not the New York Stock Exchange. If we go back to the data type card, you can see that it has correctly identified the Australian Stock Exchange as the exchange on which this ticker trades on. Okay, so this means that you can get stock data from any exchange so long as it's covered by the data provider. And most major stock exchanges are covered. If you want a complete list, just do a Google search and it will tell you which exchanges are covered. All you need is the code for the stock exchange, and you type in X followed by your exchange code. For example, ASX on the Australian Stock Exchange, or LON for the London Stock Exchange, followed by the colon, and that 3-letter ticker symbol of your company. Okay, let's get rid of BHP. Select it and press delete. Okay, so I want to apply that same principle to the remaining arguments within the stock history formula. Let's start with the start date and the ending date. Go back to the original stock sheet and go to cell C3 and type in start date. Then go to cell D3 and type in end date. And in cell C4, let's type in 365. I'll explain why in a second. Then go to cell D4 and type equals today. Open and close bracket and press enter. Go to cell D5 and type equals and point to D4. Go to cell C5 and type equals D4 minus C4. Press enter. Now go back to B7, hit F2, and navigate to the part of the formula where we have the start date, which I think it's over here. Highlight that and select C5. Next, navigate to the part of the formula where we have end date. Highlight that and click on or select D5 and press enter. So what we've done now is rather than hard code the starting and end date, we now have a reference to C5 and D5, which in turn get their values from C4 and D4. So I hope you're beginning to see what we're trying to do here. In cell C4, we have the number 365. This means we're going to get data from today all the way back to 365 days before today. In other words, we're going to tell Excel to extract price data for the last year. Take a moment to play with this. Say you didn't want data for the past year. Maybe you only wanted data for the last 30 days. So type 30 in cell C4, press enter. And now Excel has only extracted data for the last 30 days. Let's go back to C4 and let's type 365 to instruct Excel to get data for the last year. Now let's go back to B7 and hit F2. And now we're going to highlight the part of the formula that contains the interval. It's the fourth argument in the formula. Currently, it's set to 0. If we go back to the Microsoft support page, we can see that 0 equals daily, 1 equals weekly, 2 equals monthly interval. Let's go back to Excel. Let's go to cell E3 and type in interval. Now in E4, I'm going to go to data, then data validation, and under this drop-down menu, I'm going to select list, go to source, and we're going to type in day, comma, week, comma, month, and click OK. Then go to E5, and we're going to use an if statement. Now type in the formula exactly the way I do it here. Type equals if, open bracket, E4 equals, open quotation marks, day, close quotation marks, comma, 0, comma, if, open brackets, E4 equals, open quotation marks, week, close the quotation marks, comma, 1, and comma, if, open bracket, E4 equals, quotation marks, month, close quotation marks, comma, 2, comma, and just a set of open and close quotation marks, followed by 3 closing brackets, and press enter. Now, go back to E4 and select day. Notice how E5 automatically comes up with 0. Let's go back to B7, hit F2, and select that interval argument, which is the fourth argument in the formula. Select E5 and press enter. Now let's go back to cell E4, that drop-down menu, and let's select week. If you look closely at the dates, we now have weekly data. And if we select month, we now have monthly data. Let's just switch this back to daily data for now. Now, for the remaining columns in starting in F3, we're going to type in headers, date, close, open, high, low, and volume. In F4, we're going to go to data, data validation, and down here we're going to click on list, and under source we're going to type no headers, comma, show headers, comma, show instrument identifier and headers, and click OK. Then in F5, type in the following if statement, equals if, open bracket, F4 equals, open quotation mark, no headers, close quotation mark, comma, 0, comma, if F4 equals, open quotation mark, show headers, close quotation mark, comma, 1, comma, 2, and let's finish off with 2 close brackets and press enter. Let's go to F4 and let's select show headers. Then let's go to G4, let's go to data, data validation, and under the validation criteria, we're going to use list, and under source, we're going to type yes, comma, no, and click OK. Select the remaining columns, and we're going to type Control R for fill right, or you can just grab the fill handle and drag it across. Now, just to double check you've done this right, we just want to click on the remaining columns, and you should notice this little drop-down menu appear under each of these additional columns. That's to ensure that we've copied this data validation across. If you didn't get that right, try it again, select this entire row, and just press Control R. Then, let's go to cell G5, and we're going to enter the following formula, equals if, open bracket, G4 equals, open quotation, yes, close quotation, comma, 0, comma, 0, close the bracket. Now select the remaining columns and press Control R to fill right. Go to H5, hit F2. Oh, it didn't work. Let's try that again. So select the remaining columns and press Control R. There we go. Now let's go to H5, hit F2 to edit the formula, and we go to this bit over here and select that value if true. We're gonna type 1. We're gonna change it from a 0 to a 1. So press 1, or type 1 and press enter. Then we're gonna go to I5, hit F2, and again, we're going to navigate to the value if true part of the formula, and we're going to replace that with a 2. Then go to J5, again, navigate to the value if true part of the formula. We're going to replace that 0 with a 3, press enter, and to repeat this for the remaining ones. So for K5, we're going to replace that value if true with a 4, and for the last bit, for the volume, we're going to replace that value if true with a 5 and press enter. Okay, let's go back to B7, hit F2, And we're going to point each argument to the corresponding cell in the section above. Start by selecting the headers, which I think is that fifth argument over there. Highlight it, and let's point that to F5. Then go to Properties 1. Oops, got it. It's a little bit fiddly. And we'll point that to G5. Go to Properties 2. Point that to H5. And let's just repeat this for the remaining arguments. And for Properties 4, point that to J5. Properties 5, point it to the volume. And Properties 6, whatever. And we press enter. Now, let's go ahead and have a play around with some of these drop-down menus in row 4. So under headers, we want to show headers. Under date, let's go yes, we want the date. And for closing prices, we want yes for closing prices. And let's just do yes for the remaining. Oops. So notice how as I sort of went through that and kind of, either selected yes or no, the Excel kind of began to populate the stock lookup or the stock history function down here with their kind of respective properties. Say we wanted the closing price and the volume, but we didn't want the opening, high, or low. What we could do is we could go to I4, switch this off, go to J4, switch that off, and go to K4 and switch that off. And notice how Excel, oops, didn't really show the volume. Yeah, so notice how Excel has shrunk the table to display only the closing price and the volume. Okay, so let's go back to the table and we'll select yes for opening, yes for high, and yes for low. So in other words, we want the full array of data. This next bit is optional because it relates to some cosmetic issues, but if you want to clean up your spreadsheet and make it look a little bit neater, then the first thing we can do is hide row 5. We actually don't need to see the values in row 5 as long as they're doing their job. So highlight row 5, right-click, and click Hide. Next, in cell B2, we can give this some kind of title. I'm just going to call it like Control Panel or something. But you can call it whatever you like. I just can't think of anything else, but it doesn't super matter since it's just a cosmetic thing. Then let's select B2 to L2, and we'll merge these guys. I know, I don't super like merging cells because they create all kinds of problems later on if you want to add columns or whatnot. Just remember that if you ever want to edit this layout, like adding or deleting columns, just make sure you unmerge these cells first. Then select the whole thing, let's say B2 to L4, right-click, and give it an outside border. Select the control panel, and you can give it some kind of background color if you want. I'm just gonna go with, I don't know, some kind of blue and maybe bold it as well. But yeah, I mean, this bit's up to you. You could have rainbow colors if you want, whatever works for you. There's one more thing I want to point out to you. Notice how the dates are sorted in ascending order. This means that we begin with the earliest date, followed by the next date, and so forth. Typically, stock prices are sorted in descending order, meaning we want to see the most recent information up top and the older observations go in the bottom. This is because what happened a year ago is kind of ancient history, and we want to know what's happening right now. To sort the data in descending order by date, we're going to go back to cell B7, hit F2 to edit the formula, and right before the stock history function, we're going to type sort, open bracket, then we're going to go all the way to the end of the formula, type comma, 1, comma, -1, close the bracket, and press enter. This is an instruction to Excel to say sort everything in the bracket, which in this case is the stock history, by whatever is in column 1, which in this case is the date. Then the -1 just indicates sort in descending order. So in English, we're telling Excel to sort the stock data via the date in descending order, i.e. most recent data first and older data at the bottom, which is exactly how we want it. Okay, so I think that's a good place to end it for this first video. In the next video, I'm going to show you how to create price charts that automatically update themselves, how to calculate moving averages, and go through some guidelines on how to interpret their meaning. If you found this video useful, then consider subscribing, give a thumbs up, and all that good stuff. See you in the next one, and have a great day.